Esther An is Chief Sustainability Officer at CDL. CDL means City Development Limited. Esther is an active advocate for green building and sustainability for over 2 decades. She has been instrumental in establishing City Development Limited leadership in sustainability. It is ranked top real estate companies on the 2021 Global 100 Most Suitable Corporation in the world. It became the first real estate conglomerate in Southeast Asia to sign the World Green Building Council Net Zero Carbon Building in February 2021. Esther was conferred 2018 Singapore Pioneer for Green Infrastructures and a Low Carbon Economy by the United Nations Global Compact. She is also a signatory of the UNGC Caring for Climate Networks and an executive council member of the UN ESSEC Sustainable Business Network. She has many positions in different councils and boards. She's recognizing that youth engagement and female empowerment is crucial for climate action. She founded Women for Green Network in 2017 and the Youth for Climate Initiatives in 2018. More recently, City Development Limited partnered with Singapore Youth for Climate Actions at the COP26 and launched the Keep Calm and Love Our Planet campaign, a series of programs engaging youth from around the world to support our vision. I quote, turning climate anxiety into positive action. The project aims to promote positive thinking and creative collaboration for climate solutions among youth, showing that everyone can play a positive role in this global race to net zero. Thank you very much to welcome with me Esther An.
Hello, hi everyone. You can hear me clearly? Yeah. Thank you for the very comprehensive, introduction, Xavier. So I was actually briefed by your professor that I should take, the imagination, as the focus for this lecture. So this is not a marketing lecture. So I want to ask you, can you raise your hand? Do you think that a carbon zero world is possible? Not immediately, maybe 10 years' time, or, by 2030, 2050? Hands? I think it's less than half, yeah? But I know that most of you come from Europe or France, and you are actually taking the lead in, your country has been taking the lead in climate action. And for Asia, we are actually chasing. So everyone in this race to net zero has a part to play. And ASEAN is actually the 3rd largest population in the world. Okay? And then it is undergoing very rapid urbanization. And how we design, build, and manage our infrastructure and building make a really huge difference. Currently, cities account for almost 70% of greenhouse gas emission, and buildings alone, 40%. So even you are not in the building sector, you live in one, right? You stay in home, you study and you use buildings, whether you travel, whether you dine out and all that. So as users, you can also make a difference. Okay, I know this is early and some of you have probably jet lag. This picture is just a warm-up or wake-up call. What do you see in this image? Anyone? Anyone want to give it a try? This is not a computer-generated image. It was taken about 2 weeks ago when I was walking at the Lower Pierce Reservoir. I was looking at the cloud. It was an evening, sunset, and then I was looking at this cloud. It was actually changes from a white cloud into something like a flying phoenix bird. I was asking a few friends and all that. I was so excited after I took it. I brought home and I asked, the family members, and they were saying, oh, look like a bird, look like, a phoenix and all. It does look like, That is how imagination works. When you even look at anywhere around the world, the sky, the trees, the sea, you can imagine things. And that actually can inspire ideas, okay? And that actually made me very excited, Close to nature, looking at sunset, and suddenly this cloud formed like a phoenix, Then I was like, wow, it's so exciting, right? So it just changed the mood also. That's why how you know, react to the environment is very important. And how we change and build, you know, the surrounding is also very important. Okay, this is something that I think all of you know, that we are really, the world is in a climate emergency. And every now and then you will hear, you will see news and all that about, you know, climate crisis, ESG risk. ESG is environmental, social, and governance. And there's a lot of acronyms, so pardon me if you don't, you know, immediately know it. Please raise your hand, I will just explain. So ESG risks are really around us, whether it is environmental, extreme weather, flood, you know, and all, rising sea level, and also, you know, social, societal risks are very important. I mean, the world has been, you know, under this global pandemic for 20 months or more already, and we still have no sight of ending. In fact, quite a number of friends and contacts actually call up and they have actually contracted, you know, Omicron over the last couple of weeks. So it is really spreading very fast. And so how does it impact on the society, on the economies are very important. As businesses, you know, like hospitality industry, building industry, every industry is affected because we can't even, you know, ship in building materials at the peak of, you know, pandemic. And we're still struggling with workers because in Singapore, we rely a lot on migrant workers. And if they can't come in, the work has to stop. So there are a lot of social and also economic impact, you know, under all these ESG risks. And I was very privileged that attending the COP26 at Glasgow was a very rich experience. And 2 years ago, I was also at the COP25 at Madrid. And I would say that the two are really very different, the two COP. COP26, whether you judge whether it is a success or, you know, a near success or failure, that is very subjective. But one thing for sure, that it actually keeps the conversation alive. Climate action is really, you know, at the peak of attention. There were so many media from different parts of the world, and as compared to COP25, when I came back, nobody really talked about it. You know, you don't see it in the media. But COP26, prior to the, you know, the trip, our own newspaper, leading newspaper, you know, is already covering it and talking about our youth campaign. Just now, Prof. Xavier was talking about the Keep Calm campaign, because research shows that there's huge climate anxiety problem on the rise. Not just affecting the businesses, but youth are the biggest, you know, age group from 17 to 25, if I'm not mistaken, that the research of 10,000 youth and across 10 nations shows that 60% or more youth being surveyed say that they feel hopeless, they feel disappointed, they feel very sad about the future. So climate anxiety is real. That's why we launched this campaign, and we're going to share the link to invite you to join our webinar on the 21st of January. And we have a panel that with international, you know, youth champion and activists to share what are their worries, what are their wishes, you know, whether it is in Asia, Africa, you know, and China. We want people to talk about it. And to also share, don't bottle up your worry and anxiety. Turn this worry and anxiety into action. We can all do something, right? Big or small, you can do something. Yeah. So these are the, you know, race to zero is everywhere. When you are at COP, you turn here, you see zero, turn everywhere, it's like race to zero. So you can really feel the urgency. And of course, there are also actions, you know, by the national level, UN level, and the business level. And what I saw the difference is this year, we have a lot of youth movement on the ground, because I think Italy was also a co-organizer. Their focus was engaging youth. So we really see a lot of youth movement, protests also, you know, outside the campus. So it was very exciting. And what is more influential, you know, the impact is actually all these net zero alliances were formed. And you know the value chain, right? Businesses cannot grow without the support of financier, investors, and if you are asset owner, infrastructure owner, you need insurance support. You just look at these three, that they are the one who actually really decide and have an impact on your bottom line. And asset owner alliance are the investors. That was formed even the last COP already, 2019. And you can hear a lot more investors' voices to call for ESG focus by corporate, especially listed company. And a Net Zero Insurance Alliance has been formed in July last year, because in the end of the day, any damage to infrastructures and buildings, who paid it up, right? Normally it's the insurers. So even the first half of last year, the insured losses on infrastructure due to climate threats hit a new high, 40 over billion, okay? So this is going to continue to grow. And then banks, no one can do business without financial support, without bank support. So they're also screening out, so-called dirty industry, and they will focus on using ESG to screen their financing support. So Race to Zero is growing really, really fast. From last year to 2019 to 2020, end of 2020 when we were at COP, this was what's reported. Participating cities, organizations, businesses, investors, all represent about 90% of the whole world's GDP, 90%, which is really a lot, and you can really feel the impact and the momentum. And of course, you can make a commitment, but action is more important. And how do you track the impact and report it and disclose it in a transparent manner is also very important. So all these are the voices of leaders and all. I'm sure you all know Greta very well, and there are actually many Gretas alike in different parts of the world. And we have met some, and we are going to share and showcase some of them on the 21st, the webinar that we have, like from Canada, from US, from South America, even China, Japan, and ASEAN region. Of course, you have UN leaders have been calling for action for the longest time. And Larry Fink, money talks, right? When you talk about business. You guys are business school students, right? Investor, Larry Fink is actually has been a leader to drive climate ESG investment for more than 4 years ago already. Every year, I think his letter is coming out soon already. Every year he issues a letter to CEO and setting the direction for net zero commitment. In the past, it used to be climate action. And a couple of years ago, he already said net zero. You don't just talk about, I'm committed to climate action, full stop. They will screen you out. So he expects company to pledge for net zero and also showcase a strategy. And this is what, investor can really drive change. And of course, BlackRock is the largest asset manager in the world. So what he say is very important to set the direction. And of course, we have a lot more NGO from even different parts of the world and talking about it. And one thing is very, very important, media. Media is big influence, right? Whether social media or conventional media. And what we feel the difference is this year, COP was really widely covered. And even before we came back, there was already a lot of events lined up that, hey, please come and, even this week, we still have panel to talk about, hey, come back and talk to us about what is the impact of the Climate Pact formed at Glasgow. So these are the, some of the examples. These are the leading ones that, I have actually shared at the Wall Street Journal, Reuters event, and Financial Times, The Edge, and two more coming up is actually The Economist is coming up, and the South China Morning Post in Hong Kong, all are holding sustainability conferences and conversation. So this is, actually, it was covered before our trip, and this is so-called the Singapore delegation. We are very small. Although Singapore is a small country, and we also don't have really a big delegation, but we were very happy that we actually attracted some attention there when I was with these two young leaders. It's from Singapore Youth for Climate Action. So we were all there, and then it attracted a lot of attention. We have quite a few panels and sharing our campaign. I mean, London, the Keep Calm thing is very, very in, right? So we just use this as like to draw attention. And next week, we are going to showcase a video that we captured at COP, sharing the voices of about 30 of our climate leaders that we captured during COP. So log on and join us for the conversation. And this is the investment community. Their voices is really very important. And I talked about BlackRock already, and there are actually a lot of business case. We don't just talk about risk mitigation nowadays. We talk about risk adaptation. And we also want to turn it into business case, because in order to sustain your efforts, businesses have to know that, hey, what exactly is the ROI? Would it bring benefits to my company and my stakeholders, consumer products and all? So that is why that, investors' voices are very important. And as a listed company, we need to be on the good book of investor. So PRI has been talking about it and pushing the agenda, and you see the growth. The AUM, they are actually have like about 4,000 over signatory. And for CDL, we are also a member under the investment category. So we are adhere to the principle for responsible investment. And we have, guideline and all, how we decide, make decision on acquisition and, or investment. So exciting time. And of course, you heard about sustainable finance, right? Yeah, whether it is green bond or, social bond, and also sustainability-linked loan here is very, very popular now. And you can see the growth here. The biggest sectors that make use of green financing is actually building sector and also energy. Energy and building goes hand in hand. You can't, even enjoy the environment, right, if we are in the tropics. So cooling is very important. But where, the temperate country, they focus not just about cooling, it's actually warming. Heating is very important for winters and all. So energy consumption is the key OPEX, operating expenses of buildings. So that's why you can see that we can tap onto sustainable finance to accelerate action, to improve green building, for retrofitting, for new development and all. Okay, innovation, that is also linked to the topic of imagination, okay? Never say never. I've been in the industry for 20 over years, and in the past, 10 over years ago, when we say LED light and all that, it's like, oh, it's expensive, and then people will still query, right? Today, LED light is nothing, right? It's almost a norm already. Everybody was, yeah, okay, LED light, so what, And then like sustainability reporting. If you say 10 years ago you publish, a report, you can make news. But today, it's expected. You have to have a website, you have to have a report. Otherwise, you lose your license to operate already. So innovation never change, never stop. Change is not really a choice. So research also shows that companies that make use of downtime or during crisis to innovate will do better. You can see the chart here from 2007 to 2013. Those companies that invest in innovation during crisis. Actually, this is the time, the 2020, 2021, when companies are hit by COVID, the actions are really down, really loud period. In fact, for us, for my team, sustainability team, we are very happy that we double our headcounts over the last 2020 to 2021. Apart from the sustainability strategic team and communication team, we added a sustainable innovation green building team, just to focus on scouting for technology, innovation, and most importantly is the application. No point to just dream of something that, oh yeah, very nice, but how do you apply it and really create impact and reduce, energy consumption and raise energy efficiency and tapping on renewable energy and all. So this is actually for, since 2014, we actually conduct an annual materiality study among our key stakeholders. And you can see that innovation is, from 2017 to 2019 is the #1 ESG issue, most important, most material to our business. And 2020 is a bit different because of COVID. The health and safety become the #1, but innovation maintained as #2. So it shows that stakeholders, consumers all believe that companies should take long-term view, should innovate and should drive change. But you can see this number 21. This is, unfortunately, a lot of companies feel that they are not equipped for change. They are not equipped for innovation. And I think the challenge is some management may not believe in it, not exercising enough imagination, or not open to idea for change. So more about 80% of the, research survey company feel that they are not equipped to drive change and innovate. And this report is by McKinsey. So when we talk about innovation for us, we look at green building, okay? When we first started green building, like almost 2 decades ago, a lot of people feel that it's like, oh, okay, it's good to have, it's okay, you don't need it, but it's really, if you have it, it's good. If you don't have it, it's fine too, because customers are not asking for it, and investors are not asking for it. But now, today is very different. Green building is almost a norm already. It's like a license for you to build, because regulators are imposing very strict regulation on this. If you don't adhere to Green Mark in Singapore, you can't develop, you can't retrofit. Okay, so it is a license to operate, and this is actually World Green Building Council's, the chart we are looking at. How do we build sustainable buildings, and how does it really link to, to tackle climate change, to be resilient, and to be resilient for the people and for economies also. So turning something that it is about mitigation to adaptation, to create value for, the environment, for people and business as well. And Green Plan, Singapore Green Plan, some of you probably are familiar with this, some of you may be new to it, and this is a government-led Green Plan. It's like, at EU you have your Green Deal, and America and Australia, everyone have their own Green Plan and all. So this is Singapore's Green Plan, was launched in February 2021, and across 5 ministries, they are all looking at how can they drive Singapore to maintain green and clean and green and lower carbon footprint, and also transition to renewable energy. And you can see that the 5 ministries, not just about sustainability and the environment, but trade and industry, transport, national development, and education. So everyone is on board to drive this green economy, drive sustainable living, lifestyle, and how do we reset and reduce energy consumption. And we have very clear guideline for like green building. By 2030, the government has set 80% of all buildings in Singapore, all building, not just new building, all building including schools, hospital, everything, 80% must be Green Mark certified. And for now, we are hitting about below 45%. So the next 8 years, we have a lot of buildings to green, especially the older building, which is a tall order. It's not easy. Even you green so-called one building is difficult. And now we are not just talking, okay, green building standard, we have 4 levels here. The mandatory requirement is certification level. We have gold, gold plus, and platinum level, which is similar to BEAM and to LEED as well. And so now we are talking about super low energy building, not just green building. Super low energy building means you are 60% more energy efficient than the convention, which is again very difficult. And only with imagination, innovation, technology, applying it effectively, then you can, probably, help to achieve the so-called super low energy. It's very challenging, but I'll show you a couple of examples later. And green economy is important. There is expected about 60,000 green jobs will be in the market in the next 10 years by 2030. So there are a lot of green jobs around, not just in Singapore, globally as well. Yeah. And yesterday we just launched the so-called Sustainability Connect. That is to connect people, professional, new professional or current professional who want to scale up to learn more about sustainability, profession, technology, knowledge, and also resources, grants to scale up their skills. So do contact us if you are interested. Okay, this picture is actually taken in 2013 when Singapore was really attacked by haze due to the forest fire in our neighboring country. And this is a real picture, not filtered or what. And you can see a little bit of marina, background there. And Singapore, those who have been here, you always see sunshine. You always see, blue sky apart from the rainy day. So, but we are also vulnerable, to climate change, to, haze, air pollutions, and all. And that is also why, as even a small country like us, we are only contributing about 0.1% of global greenhouse gas emission, globally. We're very small, but we still have to do more because we are very vulnerable, and we are also, surrounded by larger countries, and whatever happened around, it will affect us as well. So haze was a very good example in 2013 and 2015, and so just now, when I first started, most of the populations in the world now are living in the cities, okay? And, but cities only account for 3% of land mass, but account for 70% of greenhouse gas emission, which is quite scary. And if we can change the built environment, and we can change, the way we manage our cities and how people use the buildings, there will be, it will make a difference. The needle will move, okay? So just to showcase, some of the examples that just demonstrates that dreams can be realized if you dare to dream and dare to change and really apply your skill set, your idea to it. And for those who may not know CDL, we are actually about close to 60 years old now by 2023, and we are a local company. We started with 8 employees in 1963, and we were also a home builder at that time. 8 employees, but today we are operating in 29 countries and regions, not just building home, office building, and also we have quite a sizable, investment portfolio. We are a landlord, not just in Singapore, but in London and Australia and the region as well. And we have a hotel footprint of 150 over hotels worldwide under the Millennium and Copthorne brand. And some are actually we design and build it, but we contract it out. For example, the Orchard St. Regis Hotel is ours. W Hotel in Sentosa is also built and designed by us, but managed by the W and St. Regis brand. And JW Marriott also the same. Okay, so as a company, ESG is very important for us, and we started the journey more than 2 decades ago. And there's the so-called strategic pillar, just for easy to articulate, there are 4 I that we adopt, which is actually the integration. ESG cannot be effective if it is operating in silos. That means only this team is doing sustainability, the rest of the companies are not doing it. So you must integrate it, from the board to the management to operational level, and also across, all operating and business units as well. And innovation, adaptation is very important. It will not change if you don't adapt solutions. 10 years ago and now, or even 5 years ago, technology has changed a lot. So every year we try to look for new technology and innovation, and we need to invest, put money where your mouth is. You have to invest in, to green the way we build and design, and we need to measure impact, because what get measured get managed. If you don't even know your exam, result, whether you are good or bad or average, how are you going to improve? So same thing that we have to look at impact, and therefore sustainability reporting is very important. And what are we aiming to deliver? There are 3D, which is decarbonization, which is very important. If you don't decarbonize effectively, you can't really, excel in the global race to zero. And digitalization innovation is also an enabler and also a deliverable for us. And disclosure, communication, investor wants the data, government wants the data, and even consumer nowadays also ask, like when you come into a building, they will ask about your indoor air quality, is it good? Is it strong enough to filter out, virus and germs? So consumer sustainability strategy are not 2 sets. They have to merge, they have to be integrated, and they have to go hand in hand, okay? So this is actually a chart to show that at the center here, that is when we first started in 1995, we look at conserving as we construct as our corporate ethos. So we applied it to the way we design, build, and also manage property. And of course, over the years, at that time in the 90s, the movement is very slow, okay? But nowadays, everybody is racing, running rather than slowly looking. And over the years, over the past 2 decades, we have actually embraced a lot of global standards. And I'm sure you are familiar with the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. For those who want to know more, there are a lot of information, especially on the UN Global Compact. Their website, they have a lot of 17 goals and 169 targets. Look at all these. They almost cover every aspect that you need to know about sustainable development, okay? And then, of course, in terms of reporting, it's a really, we call it a hot soup of alphabets. Okay, we look at GRI, which is the oldest, reporting standard, the Global Reporting Initiative, and then we started adopting it in 2008. And at that time, sustainability reporting in Asia or Singapore was not mandatory. Only until 2017, SGX, the Singapore Exchange, made it mandatory for reporting. Okay, so 10 years ago, we have already, before the mandatory requirement, we have already published the very first sustainability report in Singapore. And over the years, we actually embraced like CDP, which is the Carbon Disclosure Project, and integrated approach, making business and financial sense of ESG. And business students need to know why ESG, what does it benefit the company, your product, your business, and your future-proof your business. And of course, SDG, I talked about this. Since 2016, we have embraced the relevant SDG, and today we have actually embraced 14 out of 17 goals. We started with 9, and then we expanded it. And TCFD is very important, the Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosure. Some of you may have read about it already. And this is actually adopted by many national level also countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, they are already embracing TCFD, making it mandatory. Similarly, SGX just announced it just before New Year. They announced it, TCFD climate reporting is mandatory, in the next 3 years. Progressively, all listed companies in Singapore have to come up with climate reporting, okay? And SBTI is Science-Based Target Initiative, which is actually backed by science only. You cannot make friends with them and get them endorse your reduction target. You really have to show data, past, current, and projected data. And now we are actually, when we first started to achieve SBTI reduction target, it was 2018. That was aligned with 2-degree warmer scenario. And today, we have actually just passed the exam and align it with 1.5 degree because we are not talking about 2 degree anymore, like the Paris Agreement has already changed it. And then the last 2 is actually very investor related. SASB, which is really supported by the Wall Street, investors and bankers. SASB is actually the Sustainability Accounting Standard Board, okay? CDSB is the Climate Disclosure Standard Board. So there are a lot of acronyms. That's not all. These are the key ones. There's a couple hundred more. So, but not the more the merrier. When you join the workforce, you work for a company, just advise your management. This is not like the more means you can get more investment. Look at what are material to your company, your operation, your business, and select those that is most relevant for you, okay? Same for SDG. Doesn't mean that there are 17 goals means you have to embrace all. Like number 1 and 2, for private sector, is very difficult. I cannot guarantee no hunger, no poverty in the world. That is the role of the UN and also government's level. Yeah, but we can contribute, we can help. But writing a check doesn't mean you can put your logo there. It's like, poverty and all. Okay, this is climate change, and as we all know that climate threats is changing every year, every month. So we have to look at what is the likely financial impact to your business. And this is actually the climate change scenario planning. We don't look at past or current. We have to look at, by 2030, some of our property, may be near the, seafront. What is the likely impact if there's rising sea level, right? And what is the likely impact for, due to extreme weather. So we are looking ahead for, we have done 2 scenario planning already, and we look at what are the likely threats and physical threats and also transition threats, which is actually talking about the regulatory changes, and we look at the key market, not just in Singapore, we look at UK, China, and US also. All our investment portfolio are under, we did a very deep dive into the analysis and look at the future scenario. And then, of course, the third I is actually innovation. Some example only, I'm not going to get deep into it. Singapore is very hot, heating up twice as fast as other parts of the world, and we are just 1 degree north of the equator, okay? And so cooling the living environment or the interior of living space, workspace is always our top priority. So Is it just technologies that matter? It's not. Even the design is very important. When you get hold of a plot of land, how do you design, how do you orientate your buildings to maximize the wind flow, and it's very important. So AI, digital technology can help us to design, like for example, this particular condominium in Boulevard, Orchard Boulevard, the orientation, the digital method help us to reduce heat gain by 20%. Okay, so the effort starts from drawing board, not right after you build it, you put in a lot of, air conditioning, cooling. That will be too late already. From design all the way to how you build and how you engage your homeowner also. And this one is a very cool building, if you have time. This is Dairy Farm Road, and this building have like a 24-story high, so-called vertical garden. Okay, it's very mature now, and go and take a look. It made it to the Guinness World Record for almost 2 years in 2014, when we actually just handed over to our home users. And we actually conducted a 1-year study. What is the impact of this wall? And indeed, it helped us to help the homeowner, 48 units behind this wall, to reduce heat by up to 3 degrees Celsius. That means you don't need to full blast your air condition when you come home, because it is facing west. That means a lot of afternoon sun. But this, green wall helped to lower the heat gain. And vertical greening is very important for, this is actually one of our newest mixed development coming up in the CBD area, called it's the current Fuji Xerox building. So this building has the components of residential, service apartment, hotel, and commercial office as well. So we are very glad to have just received last week only from our local BCA, Building and Construction Authority, that we have achieved from the planning stage. We are already looking at, we achieved the super low energy level. So it is already given to us. But of course, this is still the drawing plan. We must apply it to make sure we meet the standard when we finish the building. Okay? So there are also, like, how do you reimagining spaces? Okay, the last 20 months, we all experienced a lot of changes. Your home were your office, right? Most of us, or your school. Your home for us is that we have been working from home for almost 20 months now, and I'm sure there are a lot of home study also, whether even primary school or university. So how we design home to facilitate that transition, and like this one, the latest one, we actually have the flexible design, and which is transferable between like living space and working space. And the condominium, you have clubhouse and all that. We actually transfer some of the space to, to play the role as like a conference, to make conference call for meeting for our residents. And of course, inside the house itself, your apartment, residents are now very concerned about their health and safety, their air quality. So how we actually present to them the products that make them have the peace of mind to invest in their property is very important. Indoor air quality, health, is very important for them. And more in demand now is actually greenery. Okay, a lot of people like to, find peace, in nature. So we invest a lot of, the site area of every individual development into greenery, landscape, and facility. So like this one at Amber Park, it's actually, we dedicated 65%, which is way above, almost 20% higher than mandatory requirement. And that is really a big draw, because there's a jogging track here, this on the rooftop here. This is like a jogging track linking 3 blocks at the rooftop, overlooking the sea. So every morning you can, residents can go up and jog and then, enjoy the sea breeze and the fresh air. So these are really what home buyers are looking at, okay? And then we are also looking at older building, industrial building. The energy efficiency is very, very low and all because of old technology and all. So apart from retrofitting it, we also look at new solutions. Like for example, this is a very old industrial building. We turn the rooftop to a solar plant. So once this is completed, it will turn the source of energy to 50% to renewable, to solar. So there are always solutions, but every property may have different solution, different problem and all. And we need to do research. R&D, you can never stop because change is, every day you are facing changes. So we actually partner with NUS, the School of Design and Environment, since 2016, and we set up 2 labs for R&D, and to look at how to lower the heat gain inside the house, and how to reduce noise level, and also, haze and antibacterial flooring and all. So we have 2 labs. One is the so-called the Smart Green Home Lab. The other one is actually Tropical Technology Lab, looking at newer generation of solar panels and building materials. So these are some of the so-called innovation that I would like to just like, for example, last year, actually 2020, everyone was worrying about like public touch points and all that, right? So the researcher and professor from the lab actually developed an antiviral disposable adhesive, like a sticker, and not just the spray after the touch. The public use it for a few hours, the effect is gone already. So this adhesive film has gone through the lab tests in the States, and it is proven to be very effective to help the touch points free from viral infection and all. And of course, digital platform is very important to help us look at predictive management, facility and building management, to help us to reduce manpower usage and also energy consumption as well. So there are some vertical farming and also new generation of PV panel. Solar panel, you always look at it as something like that, very boring, just very industrial looking. But now we have new generation that you can print your marketing message or your corporate logo there and all. So this is, we are being piloted at our Sustainability Academy, and we have to look at the harvest, the yield, whether the prints will affect the yield of the energy generation. So there are a lot of technology can really help us, and I'm sure that you are in a generation that a lot of probably some of your friends, they don't want to work for corporate or government. They want to do startup. Right? I'm sure that is something that you are familiar with. And actually, we have an incubator at Republic Plaza, our basement level, and that is to set up a share office for new startup from 1 to 3 years ago. 1 to 3 year old new startup that need office space. It's a share office space, but the selective criteria is very stringent. It has to serve 1 or more SDG, whether it is climate action, innovation, or reducing, fossil fuel and all that. So we actually opened in September 2019, and it was locked down last year and all, but we still continue, and we reopened it earlier, 2020, last year we reopened it, but with control number of usage. And those who are interested, let us know. And we also invest directly in the VC fund and also technologies and solutions that is relevant to our business. And last but not least, this is just to show that going green is a journey. It's not possible that you just wake up one day and say, oh, I want to go green and net zero. You need a journey, really committed to it, strategic integration, and also application of technology, engaging your whole value chain, your whole company. And this is actually some of our examples. Some may know that carbon neutral building is Tampines Concourse. This is the very first one in Asia Pacific. We neutralized all the carbon footprint from design production stage to management stage. And we just actually launched it in our social media also. Apart from carbon neutral, we have made this building plastic neutral. That is the very first plastic neutral certification that achieved in Singapore and the region. And what we engage is like to make, ensure our usage of and disposal of plastic waste audited and certified to be plastic neutral. And so we hope that that will set the standard, because you know that more than about 80% of the marine waste are actually from man on land. So we need to change the way we behave. We cannot treat our ocean as like a garbage dump. So that is what we are doing all this to hope that we can drive change. And of course, those who are familiar with Botanic Gardens, please do go and visit our Zero Energy Building, Green Gallery. There is a climate action exhibition going on. Please go and visit. And then the Academy, which is actually a net zero building on the roof garden of City Square Mall, which is where we actually provide rent-free space for NGO to promote climate action and also SDG. Last but not least, this is actually over the last 5 years, we have been eyeing on when can we pledge net zero. Again, it's not something you just pledge, but without a plan, without a pathway to achieve it, to be responsible, otherwise we will be, alleged as greenwashing. So that is what we did. Actually, in 2015, we have already planned out how we want to achieve and pledge it, in 2020, 2021, this year, we finally pledged the net zero, aligning with the global standards set by World Green Building Council. This marks the beginning of a lot of work, because we have the pathway, but you have to really stick to the plan and really act on it in order to achieve net zero. So last but not least, impact is very important. We can't do it alone. Even government cannot do it alone. So don't talk about private sector. And we need to present it as a strong business case. We can't just tell our shareholders that we will want to save the world even at loss. We have to show them that we can benefit from it. For example, we engage even our tenants. 100% of our tenants are supporting our green lease. So supporting our green movement and all. And we also maintain, good financial performance and all. And so last but not least, this is our report card. This is actually we are included in 13 leading sustainability ratings and ranking, including the Global 100. We are maintaining the top among all real estate companies in the world, to be most sustainable. And of course, the others we are familiar with is the Dow Jones, MSCI, CDP, and FTSE for Good and all. So we are very happy with this report card. And this is very important to help us to gain access to funding. And just now in the beginning, I talked about sustainable finance. We actually issued the first green bond in Singapore in April 2017. And over the last 4 years, we have actually maintained very active to tap onto sustainable finance to accelerate our green building movement and action, turn idea into buildings and products and all. So we actually amass about $3 billion now, and we are delivering results and creating positive impact. And this is actually Milton Friedman's ideology is dead, pronounced by Paul Pullman, who is actually a global leader in sustainability. And it's true that business of business is no longer just making profits just for shareholder. You have to look at the larger ecosystem of stakeholders, community, and all. And the good old, triple bottom line, you have to add purpose and sustainable to it, how to protect our planet, and how to make profits not at the expense of the environment and the people. So this is where the business students like you should probably, advocate this and also practice it when you start the workforce. Engaging community is very important. Green building, to a lot of people, they don't really know. That's why we set up these green galleries to help to educate and engage people. And young people, very important. If you go to the Beach Road Central Library basement, you can visit my tree house, which is actually the world's first green library for children. And we want to nurture the next generation of, eco-champion. And this is the Sustainability Academies that over the 5 years that we have set up, every week we have activity, training programs and all. And do let us know if you have any, things to share. And I think on a personal basis, everyone have the reasons to drive change and all. So why I actually started my journey in sustainability in 1995 is after I gave birth to my second daughter. And I have two young babies then. And what I feel is I was working in a bank, and I feel that I really want to do more for the environment and to leave behind a world, to contribute to a world that I want my kid and my grandchildren to enjoy. So that is where I changed my career to join the property sector. And of course, sustainability was not a hot topic at that time. So we are just looking at environmental protection. So that's how I started my journey. And this photo is actually an award-winning photo, and I really can relate to it. It's like, and this lady is a mother with your kid, and you see the shoulder, we can with love, care, and determination, you can do a lot and carry a lot on our shoulder. And that is what a lot of climate activists, sustainability practitioners are doing. And I sleep very few hours a day, but there's so much that we could do. Yeah? Okay? Everyone here, please, young people, you have full of energy and passion. Shoulder a lot bigger, responsibility, and advance change resilience for a sustainable future. And I'm sorry I overrun a little bit, Xavier. I hope happy to take any question you may have.
Thank you very much for your presentation. In your opinions, involving financial tools such as taxes could engage more the company into revising their process to take into account the climate change and global warming? And if yes, do you think that it could be feasible?
Sorry, I couldn't get the first.
Sorry.
Is it taxes?
Yes, taxes.
Tax, right?
Yeah.
Carbon tax and all that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, definitely regulator can really drive change like overnight, right? Because that is licensed to operate. If they ask us to change, the green building standard, we have to follow. Otherwise, we can't get the permits to build or to sell. And this carbon tax is really a hot topic, and you can probably see the change for Singapore. Budget announcement is actually on the 18th of February. Okay, every year there's an annual budget. Every year, everyone is seeing the signs that our Minister for Finance already make it very clear that expect some change to the carbon tax. And carbon tax is really a key driver, especially not just for individual users, actually businesses, because asset owner like us, building owner like us, we have to really look at the possible impact. If carbon tax now is only $5 per ton, if it is double or triple, what is the likely financial impact? So yes, to this very, very valid question, thank you for that. Regulations, including like taxation and all, will really help drive change very fast and very effective. Yeah.
Thank you, Esther. We have a second question from Victor. And I have to say that I had the same question than him, actually. The world's production of steel and cement is responsible for 10% of greenhouse gas effect gas emission, which is enormous. In addition, producing some materials such as glass, copper to electrify the buildings is responsible for destruction of ecosystem. What if climate change and preserving our ecosystem was not about building more and more eco-friendly buildings, but just stopping building at all? For example, when it comes to housing, Singapore has a property glut that could take years to clear. And to complete the Victor's question, I guess it was very clear. Thank you, Victor, for the question. Is the best eco-building is the one that we won't build?
Okay, I think there are quite complex questions here, and I think the focus is really like sustainable building materials, because you talk about cement, right? Am I hearing it correctly?
That's good. That's one of the part of the question. The other part of the question is, to what extent should we continue to build those kind of building instead of not doing it? Do we need all those buildings?
To be green, is it? All those buildings?
No, the question is, there is many things there. The first one is about, of course, the materials that we use. But first of all, the question is, do we need all those kind of buildings? Do we need to build other buildings all the time, many times, everywhere over the planet? And this is quite an interesting question. It means that it's like, for instance, if to give you another example, when we talk about electrical car, do we need a car? Mm-hmm. That's exactly the same approach. Mm-hmm. When you have a green building, do we need this building?
Oh, well, I think it's a very interesting concept. Car is different. You can live without a car. I don't think that people can live without a home. Yeah, whether rent home or renting a space or buying a property. I think building and car are quite different. I don't think we can have that analogy. But okay, green building is almost a norm already now. Green building, okay? But what your question is, like, do we need the building?
Let me give you another example that I have in mind. Is because when For instance, when you look at the business model of Airbnb, it's just using the non-using flat apartment room and so on and so forth. Because we know that across the planet, across the world and cities, as well as in Singapore, for instance, we have a lot of empty space, empty building, empty office as well. And if Airbnb works, it's because actually we have plenty of non-used place, office, whatever you want. So to what extent we should maybe to reshape the business model, to reshape the way of using the building instead of building.
Yes, I think you're talking about sharing economy, right? In a way.
We talk about sustainability, basically.
Yeah, sustainability and sharing economy, circular economy, all these are solutions towards a sustainable future. But I think for Singapore's case, we don't really have a lot of underutilized building as of now, but things are changing very fast. I totally agree with you. Like, for example, office space. Over the last 20 months, a lot of people are getting used to working from home. And then, now when we are opening up, there are actually a lot of debate that is like, oh, okay, should we work 3 days at office, 2 days home, or, or whatever. So I think things are really changing, and like I said, even how you build your residential development, you have to build in like some office space usage into your condominium as well. So there is actually the blurring of the line of living space, working space, and all. So I totally agree with you that we have to look at whether there is any underutilized spaces that can be used for sharing and all. And that is also why the share spaces, Airbnb is so popular. And we have also turned some hotels into some Airbnb purpose already. So the whole world, like I said, change is the really something that is not a choice. So as a business, how you manage your business is very important. And mind you, actually, share office was not picking up very fast over the 20 months because people don't want to share. Because of hygienic reasons, they are very worried about like safety and all. In the past, we don't really worry, like we walk into a share office, we just sit anywhere you want and use the facility. But now, people are very cautious because they don't want a touch point. In fact, you see, you have hand sanitizers everywhere. So there is also a difference between like share office will be the trend, or you still want the privacy. So there are still changes going on now. And but yes, you are right. We are, we don't have a solution right now, but we have to look at how to anticipate change. And I want to go back to the green building, and the first part of the question is very relevant because you have to engage supply chain. And we also look at how they can help us because that is the scope 3 embodied carbon. When we look at so-called net zero science-based target reduction, they don't look at scope 1 or scope 2. Scope 2 is where you purchase from the grid, the energy, which is the largest consumption of every business. Scope 3 is where getting more and more important, is looking at like your supply chain, your sustainable building materials, and your communication, transportation footprint of your staff, and even your tenants and all. So this is a big topic for embodied carbon. And cement is one of the top building material. Cement and sands, concrete at the top, and steel second, for building materials. So that's why the trend is now looking at recycled or sustainable steel. But these are still at the early stage, and we also have to look at cost. We don't just blindly just look at material, but don't look at the cost management. And a lot of things are changing. Carbon capture for cement is something that is very big now, but very infancy stage. So as developer, we are all looking at all these possibilities.
We have many questions actually. We won't be able to take all of them, but one from Blanche. Thanks a lot. Interesting to see all net zero large-scale agreements with bank finance and investments. We know how important are investors when it comes to building a sustainable world. However, I just arrived from France. It's a shock to see so many cars, plastic in supermarket, meat in every meal, aircon everywhere. Do you think Singapore is taking enough concrete action to counter climate change? Do you think people are aware enough to challenge of climate change, To what extent are Singaporeans concerned about climate change in their everyday life? Do you consider yourself and your company as an exception?
The top of the pyramid is still minority. And we hope change can be faster. And we notice that the change is coming fast and furious. And like I said, in the COP26, it was in the past COP, apart from COP21 in Paris, the agreement. Other than that, many don't even follow. So COP22, 23, 24, nobody really talked much about it until COP26 seems to have a very high profile because of the climate emergency. So I think the world is changing very fast with all the political leaders are driving it, regulations are driving it, investors, financier, everyone is driving to the same direction. And I'm quite hopeful that even after 2 decades, I think this is the real tipping point that we can't go back, to the old normal. And I think change will speed up much faster than the last 2 decades.
Thank you. We have another question. I guess it's Benjamin. I'm not sure about that. Thanks you for the presentations. We have seen a lot of high-end products and new technologies that can help to reduce carbon emissions. However, they may be costly at first. We can also see that for lower income populations, carbon zero challenge remains a very far away concern, while their share in carbon emission will increase over the next decades. How can we integrate everyone in the climate transition? I quote again, I continue to quote, I find it quite paradoxical to debate in a building aircon cooled at 19 degrees Celsius on how to reduce carbon emission. Emission.
Yes, okay. Well, definitely decarbonization is key for every industry, every nations and all. And that is why we talk about green buildings and, setting net zero target is the key to drive. If you are not, setting ambitious target, you can't, get everyone on board to go to the same directions that you want. Yes, building code has changed also. In the good old day, it was like 22 degrees Celsius, 21 to 25 degrees, and you can really walk into building. I'm talking about Celsius, I'm not familiar with the Fahrenheit. So you can walk into a building or some shopping mall, it's like freezing cold. But now I think you will see less of that already because the building code has also raised the temperature already. And of course, building owner has to take responsibility. And like under our green lease, we also set our temperature to 23 to 24 degrees, And we won't go back to the time that is like 21 or 22 degrees. It's too cold, even for tropical weather. So people are more mindful now, and that's why we need to look at the digital, management of building. Area that there's no action, no people, we actually switch it off, the lighting or whatever. But if we don't know, without all the sensors to know that this area nobody really use it, we can actually manage it and reduce the usage of energy. So now there are a lot more technology can help us to manage buildings in a more efficient manner.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Esther. Thank you for your talk. Thank you so much. Thank you, Esther. I just want to, because I thought about it, our former students at ESSEC, Sandra Marichal, actually, she lived in Singapore for many, many years, and she has decided to create an association, a club, actually. That was a long time ago now. She doesn't live in Singapore anymore, and she has decided to create an association. It's 1 degree, and the association was to convince the mall and convince the building, actually, to increase the temperature in Singapore, so she was a very strong activist. She's very interesting. We invited her here during Imagination Week, and we have a talk that when she came around. Thank you very much. Our next conference would be at 2, but before that, I want to introduce Aisha. Please, Aisha, sorry. Thank you very much. Aisha is our artist in residence. As I've mentioned to you at the beginning of the week, we have every single week we have artists in residence, Sergi as well as in Singapore. And this week, Aisha is the one artist in residence, and he is at the level 4. So we highly encourage you to visit him, to interact with him. That's the purpose to have an artist in residence. It's not just to have to comment someone about art, but someone who is really doing a work, doing something. So don't hesitate to interact with him. And on Friday, he will give a talk to us. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, Harsha.